Sharper blades means greener grass? Yes, it's true. I'm Bradley with Blue Cord. I'll explain why, and I'll give you some tips and tricks on how to keep your blades as sharp as possible. Now, a dull blade will fray the grass, causing the ends to turn brown and causing damage. A sharp blade creates a clean cut and keeps the grass greener and healthier. Who knew that such a simple thing could have such an effect on the health of your lawn? Now, before we do anything, the first thing we need to do is determine if the blade is safe to use, if it has any visible cracks or damage, or if it's too bent. Any of these conditions make the blade unsafe. You need to discard it and get a new one. Now that we've determined that our blade is safe to use, let's go ahead and start some simple steps, get it cleaned up and ready for grinding. And there are a lot of different methods that you could use to sharpen your blades, from files and simple grinder attachments to a special purpose-built bench grinder. The one thing is most important is consistency. Each pass that you make to create your cutting edge needs to be consistent. The angle needs to be the same. For those of you that have a good eye and a steady hand, those handheld grinders will do just fine. For guys like me, I need the steadiness of a bench grinder so that I can repeat the same angle grind every time. When it comes to balancing, there's a few methods that you can use. The simplest is probably the nail in the wall trick. That does okay, but still not very accurate compared to using a balancer like this. Does pretty well also. These are pretty cheap. You can get these on Amazon for less than 10 bucks. For those who are interested in the pinnacle of perfection, my recommendation is the Magnamatic Mag 1000. This is extremely accurate and enables you to fine-tune the balance in your blades better than any other instrument I've seen. Now, an often overlooked aspect of properly sharpening a blade isn't just about sharpening this angle, it's also about smoothing and polishing the underside as well, because you will get nicks and burrs, and it creates a very rough surface on the bottom. So I go ahead and make a few passes across the belt sander and smooth this off before I sharpen. Now, the optimal grinding angle for this right here is between 30 and 35 degrees. Now, when you're making the very first pass of your edge in the grinder, just make a very light pass and see that the grinding wheel is indexed properly to the angle that you already have. As you can see, I only grazed the very edge, so my angle on the grinder is way off, so I'm going to have to adjust the height and try it again. Now, keeping a smooth, even pressure, you pass the blade through. Too much pressure, too little speed, you'll overheat the metal and it'll turn blue. You absolutely don't want that. Now, as you're passing this through the grinder, you periodically want to make a balance check and make sure you're not taking too much material off of one side or the other. So what this means is we have to take a little more material off the heavy end. Because it'll happen to me, sometimes I'll take the blade off here and I can't remember what side it is, and it's not a huge deal, but I just go ahead and I mark the one side. And that way there's no confusion when I get it on the grinder. Now, for those of you that have a lot of sharpening to do and are going to take a lot of material off, the blade is going to get hot. I keep a spray bottle on hand and it just cools it down. You don't want to overheat the metal. The hotter it gets, the easier it is to overheat. You can see there's steam coming off of this. but it wasn't quite yet boiling, so that's a good thing. That's pretty darn good. Now, I know some of you are wondering what this rod is for, and it's very simple. It's a gauge to measure how straight the blade is. Let me show you how it works. And when you mount the blade on here, and what you do is you take this gauge and you touch it to the blade, and you spin it around and see how close that is to touching. And if it's within 1/8 of an inch or so on a blade of this length, you're in good shape. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.